Good afternoon and welcome to the next webinar here at Preperation. My name is Ignatius.
My name is Robin.
And today we are covering the RS Wash and the RS Cure. So in today's agenda we'll be looking at preparation of the units, a close-up look on the user interface, and some recommendations regarding the maintenance revolved around these units. But before we continue, I would just like to say that if you have any questions, please place it in the chat box, as we cannot hear anything on this side, and we'll try and answer them as best as we can. Otherwise, we will refer to the end during the Q&A if it's a bit more in-depth and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
Normally there aren't any questions to start with, so I think it would be fine for us to just
jump
right into it. So the first topic here would be the preparation regarding the contents that's in the shipping boxes, as well as how to set it up. So there's some similarities between the RS Wash and the RS Cure, namely the documents that are involved. There's a USB flash drive which holds the manual, as well as a quick start guide. Then you also have the power supply. Now they are a bit different because the Cure needs a bit more power, so it's a bigger power supply, so please just be aware of this. There are tags on the cables for the power supplies to associate with the correct unit. The things that are exclusive to the Wash are the swap box. Now this is what holds your cleaning agent bottles. You also have a smaller basket for the washing cycle, as well as a platform holder, which is specifically relevant to the capsule systems where they have the smaller plastic build platforms. And then for the RS Cure, we have a calibration tool, similar to what you'd have on the printers, but it's just used for the curing unit. Okay, pretty self-explanatory. Again,
yes,
you can feel free to ask if anything is not clear. Okay, so with the preparation that we have for the RS Wash, it's fairly straightforward, and I think I'll get Robin to jump in on the other side. So we have a bit of a different setup here. We have a portable video device over here. So for the RS Wash, it's about connecting the corresponding power supply to the unit, which is on the back of the unit. Then you also have the swap box that houses the cleaning bottles. Now the thing to note here is that there are two wash cycles, and in the back of the unit you will house the first wash, and in the front you will have the secondary wash. Okay, but we'll get to that a bit later in greater detail, but it's important to insert these bottles with your relevant cleaning agent inside the swap box, and then you can put the lid on top of it. Please note that there are these two nozzles. They need to slide in, and it fits in fairly straightforward, just like this. And then, very important, because we are working with liquids, especially flammable liquids, is it needs to have a proper fit onto the unit. And Robin's just illustrating the actual plug section, and it will slide in and connect with a distinctive clicking sound. Robin. Yeah, just like that. And then it's secured. He just secured the unit on the other side to make sure that he's not pushing it away, and so on and so forth. So that's for the Wash.
Yes.
If you're looking at the network, you have a Wi-Fi connection or LAN connection. If you're using a LAN, this plugs into the back of the unit as well. All right, and then for the RS Cure, a bit more straightforward. Unboxing and also just plugging it into the back with the power, as well as the Ethernet connection, if that's relevant, if you're not using the Wi-Fi option available. Okay. So, I don't see any questions as of yet.
No.
So we'll just
yet.
keep the ball rolling. So a big change or big benefit of using our RS Wash or RS Cure units is we are using intelligent connectivity. Basically what this means is when you have created a print job, that the printer will send this information through to the units, either the cure or the wash, and inform them about what job had just finished, so that the user does not have to think about what post-process needs to be used regarding the material or so on and so forth, so that it's in a job list and you can just select it directly from there. So we'll just go straight into it to show you exactly how to set this up, because we'll do a bit of a live demonstration on the functionality of this. So the first thing is that you need to make sure that the printer and your units, the post-process units, are on the same network. This is very important, similar to how you want your NetFab PC to be on the same network as the printer, so you can send information across accordingly. Next thing to do is activate the intelligent connectivity on the printer, which has already been covered in a previous webinar. So that's not something that we'll be looking at today. What we will be looking at is setting it up in the curing units. Now the cure and the wash have the same interface, so we're only going to show it on one because the principle is exactly the same. So what we can see here, we will go into the settings and then we go into the intelligent connectivity, where we can go and add a new machine just like this. It's asking for printer name, so you can call this what you want, but in our instance we will call it printer 1. And then you will also need to input an IP address. Now this is the IP address that is used by the printer. So this would also be the same IP address that you use in NetFab to send jobs to this printer. So after we've input the IP address and the name, we can test the connection. And in this instance, it happened fairly quickly. There we can see the printer class type, as well as the serial number of the machine. So you can confirm that this is the correct one. And then you just go ahead and save that. And there you have it now. So that's fairly straightforward for the intelligent connectivity. So for this demonstration, we're also going to send a job. We've got an actual... No, but
yes, exactly. There's no job.
So there's no job at the moment. We have just a D20 Plus behind us here. We're going to run a really quick job just to demonstrate how that job file will go across to the curing unit. But we'll get to that in just a moment, because it just takes a moment to run the print cycle. Okay, so then I will step away. I don't think there's any questions as of yet.
Wonderful.
So we'll just continue from there.
Yes. So next step, having a closer look at the machine. So what is the benefits? Ignatius already told most of them already. And how about the washing and curing process? So what is going on in there? So benefits, easy to say, it's designed for the ease of use. So that's why all the information are directly transferred. Most of them are on the cure, some informations are coming from the printer, and therefore they come directly out of NetFab. So there is one line of information going through the whole systems. This means customer does not has to input some extra numbers, values for each indication for each material in the post-processing. No, just select, for example, material, or what we can also show you, the job, which is just transferred directly after being printed. So all of this is really generating a validated and secure process for the best results, because all the parameters for curing, for washing are tested by Rapid Shape, by the material manufacturer, and also assured by Strawman. So this is really a good thing to just follow and have the best results you can get. As I already mentioned, job information is transferred from the printer to wash and cure. So as soon as the print job is finished, we will see it later. It's 0 minutes, so a few seconds to go.
Yeah.
As soon as the print job is finished, the job will be transferred, or not the job, but mainly the information of this job will be transferred to the cure and the wash. Same time, you can then refresh the job view and have a look if your job is in there. Just start it, put your parts inside, and that's it.
Yeah.
So let's have a look. still some seconds to go. But I can see there's one question. Maybe let's have a look at the question. Antonio's asking Wi-Fi versus Ethernet. What do you recommend? So recommendation is the stable network. But if your Wi-Fi is stable, Wi-Fi is totally fine.
Yes.
No problem. If the Ethernet is there and you already got cables, you can also use Ethernet. So there's really no issue in using one of both of them. So only thing is make it stable. So there's some countries I think where it's a little bit harder to get, for example, proper Wi-Fi. But from our side, there's no recommendation which you have to use. There's just, if it's stable, use it.
Reliability.
Yeah, just make sure that it's not a special network which is locked up a lot.
Yes.
Then you have to make sure that right ports are open and so on. Otherwise, the communication will not work as well. In between, also with the update server, communication may not work. But therefore, there will be some more information. Same for the printers, Antonio. Yes, you're asking if it's the same for the printers. Same for the printers, as they also will communicate with the Cure and Wash and the update server. No recommendation, as long as the ports we need are open, you can use both of them. So, all right. Thank you for your question. This was the perfect time because now the print job is ready. So, okay. I will stay in front. I will switch the cam, and Ignatius shows us what to do to see if the job is now there. So the machine says ready, and Ignatius now is just in the job overview. We will show you the menu later, and clicks on refresh. So now you can see printer 1 sends a job D20 test print, which is the one we just printed. So in order to now just clean or cure this job, you select it and you push the start button. And that's it. Easy process, no or not really much thinking or user errors involved. You can just select and the machine will do the rest. Okay, so now let's have a closer look to the RS Wash process. So we start with the RS Wash process directly from the beginning. So we start with opening the drawer and inserting the parts. So easy as that. You can place it in there. Remember, there's the small basket for the small parts or the platform holder for the capsule platform, which you still can use. After you put it in there, you just close the drawer again and you select job, material or customer parameter on the top and start the process. That's all you have to do. So not complicated, just easy handling. So what is going to happen now is, of course, the machine will lock the drawer itself and it starts the first cleaning process. Ignatius was mentioning this. There's 2 bottles inside. The first one, at the back of the bottles, the back one, is starting with the first process. So the first washing is called, or we can call it a raw washing. There's a lot of residual material in the beginning, non-cured material, which we have to get rid of. So this is doing the first raw washing. Afterwards, it will pump off, will get rid of this resin, isopropanol, sorry, and put it back in the bottle. Then starting the second cleaning circle with the second bottle, the one in front, which is then the, let's call it the detailed cleaning, because we just got a little bit resin left maybe somewhere inside or in small cavities, which we then can get rid of with cleaner isopropanol and a second cleaning process. Afterwards, also this iso gets pumped back into the first bottle, and then we're going to start the drying process. Drying, there's a small ventilator, vent inside, which is then drying the air by circulating it through the activated carbon filter. So that's also why you can't smell a lot of the isopropanol. And that's also the great benefit of it. And finally, you can open it again, get back your parts, the cleaned one and dry one, and we can just directly then continue with these parts to the cure. So cure has got kind of the same process. So starting easily, we're getting the parts, opening the cure lid, putting the parts in there, select also job, material, custom parameter. You can see same process, same menu, nothing complicated, and then you press the start button. Within the cure, the process will start with all the materials we got at the moment with vacuuming. Oh, thank you, yes. With vacuuming, it's just really important that you insert only clean and dry parts. So if there's some issue during the first cleaning, or if the isopropanol is a little bit older and was not changed, you might have got non-proper clean parts. These can then also stick to the glass, so really make sure clean and dry parts, put them in. Okay, so
there was one question.
One question?
Two, actually.
Okay, then let me just continue. So for all materials we got, it will start with a vacuum. Vacuuming takes, depending on what material you're using, maybe a different time. Same is for after the vacuum starting, the curing process. This will also depend on the material you're using or you're curing. The time is just a little bit different because of the different materials. So in general, curing is just consisting out of vacuuming, curing, and finished process. Okay, so I will just open the next slide, but we will have a look at the questions which were in the chat. So Joe is asking how much IPA should be in the bottles. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in the user manual, I think it's 700 milliliters.
Yeah, roughly, but just don't overfill it.
Yes.
That's the thing. The bottles have a 1 liter capacity. Just don't overfill it, and
yes.
also not underfill it, but roughly 700 ml is the target.
Exactly. Should also be written in the, I think it's in the quick start guide, especially it's also written how much you are allowed to fill in the bottles. Just make sure it's really enough and not too less. Okay. Antonio's asking, can you create a custom cleaning cycle by copying a material and just increasing the drying time? For now, it's not working in the software. So you can't copy an existing parameter set yet. We can forward this to the development. Let's see if there's a possibility in the future, but for now we can just say, unfortunately, it's not possible. Okay, Dave is asking, is there a manual way to release the vacuum if lid will not open after cycle? For the service team, there is, yes, indeed, there is a possibility to open the valve to get rid of the pressure. Yes. So best thing is then, if you got issues like this, get in contact with us, because what we also need to figure out is why was it stuck? Definitely. Usually the valve will always open. And if not, we have to figure out why. So just create a task, leave us a message, send us the email so we can also create a task and have a closer look. And then there's also the possibility for us to connect, and with the customer we will figure out how to open it and how to release the pressure through the valve. Okay, one more. Can you delete a job from the queue in the P-wash and cure? Yes, it's in the following slides. So I think that's a perfect transition. I will just continue with the software. Ignatius, please go back there and we will have a closer look at the user interface. So, user interface, we're starting with the main menu. Already mentioned the cure and the wash. We've got the same software, same user interface. So we will just now show it on the cure, but it's the same for the wash. Just one single menu point is a menu is not in the cure and not in the wash, but in the cure. I will come to this in a few seconds. So first main overview, we got the tabs on the top. Jobs, materials, and custom. These are just the washing processes, as you may have noticed. You can select in there, in between, what you want to cure or what you want to clean, which material, what job, or if you got a custom parameter, which custom parameter set you want to start. Next thing, you already have seen it in a job. It's only in a job overview, the refresh button to see if there's a new job finished by one of the connected printers. And of course, as last button, the settings button. Settings, you will just get to the next level. It's all the settings we are now having a look at. So, most important button, even if some of you might think, oh, why are we even discussing this? But it is the shutdown button. It's really important, as well as with the printers, just to shut down the system in the software directly and not with the switch on the back or just by pulling the plug. So, shut down. Go into the settings, click the shutdown button, and on here, just a check mark in order to shut it down. For now, we won't do it, so you can just click the cross. And we will continue with the home button. Just to get back to the overview, you click on the beautiful home button. Okay, so First menu in this, or first thing in the list now is the custom parameters. So Antonio was asking to copy the parameter set. It's not working yet. You can just add a new one. So if you click on the plus in the custom parameter set, you can just add a name, the distributor. So in order, for example, the material manufacturer you are programming now a new custom parameter for, and underneath you can find now all the setup with vacuum, nitrogen, heating, curing, and so on. You can just do everything in there what you think you need, but please keep in mind, this is then a non-validated post-processing. So it's hard for us to support you if you're using a different post-processing than validated, because then we can't really say if the outcome is what we expect to be.
Correct.
Okay, so let's go back. Maybe one more thing so that we can notice. If you want to select a menu E or an entry in the list, you just select it and then click on the check mark on the left. Now we're going to do it with the material selection. Important, maybe you have noticed, in the material selection you can select the materials you want to display in the main menu. So if we have a look in the main menu again, we can directly see in the material sections. Now it's hard to see on the bottom, but it's in a little bit lower, smaller writing, how many materials have been selected out of how many available. So we can see now, maybe Ignacio can help me what's written there. 11. So it's 11 out of 59 materials selected to be shown in this menu. If I want to have different ones shown in this menu, I can just go to the material selection and in there select which materials should be displayed or shouldn't be displayed. So that's really quite important during the installation, that you know there's a lot of materials available, but sometimes it might be needed that you activate them to be shown in the main menu. This is what you can do in here. By clicking with the check mark, you just activate it and you can go back. Okay, on the next slide, network. So network settings is the next one in the list. Well, you can find in there just the TeamViewer information, the Ethernet settings, and the Wi-Fi settings. You can see already there's a Wi-Fi address being shown because we connected already. If you connect, for example, with the Wi-Fi, just let's head into this menu. You push on the Wi-Fi settings and you can see now most of it is grayed out and you can't select something. So even if you set up a new one, you have to click on Change VLAN Connection. So now everything becomes visible. On the available SSIDs, you can see what's available. If there's nothing in the list, use the refresh button as Ignatius is showing now, and you will find your network afterwards in there. Then you just fill in password or needed setup for static IP, depending what you want to do. And if you push on save, network is saved. If the password is put in wrong, make sure that you really check it again, because then there's just no connection. But as far as I have experienced now, there's no warning directly coming up to say the password is wrong. So just check it again if the Wi-Fi is not connecting properly.
Yeah. If there's no actual connection with the IP address directly after saving, then that's generally that it has not connected correctly.
Yes. What you still can try is then, of course, a proper reboot after adding the Wi-Fi, for example, and see if this was helping. Sometimes the networks there are a little bit weird, but also restart might help sometimes. Okay, let's go for the next one. Intelligent connectivity. Well, we already did this, so we just want to show you where to find it. It's also in the settings. You need to scroll down a little bit, then you can find it, select it, and do the settings we have done before. Then, this is what Sean was asking, the job manager. So, job manager, you can delete the jobs which were in the list. So now, for example, this print job failed, and we figured out we need to make some change to support, so it's going to be a different job. We will just do the one thing, we select it and push the recycle bin. It's deleted out of the list. Now, if you go back to the main menu, you won't find it in the job overview. You cannot select it anymore. And that's it. Even if you refresh it, job is gone. So make sure if you delete the wrong one, it's a little bit bad, because then you have to print it again or select the material. Okay, so next thing would be system. In the system, you can just find main information about the system. So which version is running now on the cure, which database structure is now on the cure. This might be helpful if you figure out that, for example, some materials are missing on your cure and on the other cure it's available. So maybe just compare if there's some difference and, for example, let us know, or you can go into the auto updater, which will show you also in a few seconds where to find it. Yeah, you can see there's also the sound setting. So once you touch the cure screen or button on the cure or the wash, there will be a little beeping sound to as an answer that yes, you pushed something, everything was correct. You can also switch it off completely if you want. Okay, let's go back to the menu again. And I can see there was also a question regarding the calibration. So you can find the calibration in here. It's the next point. It's not yet implemented in the software. It will be by the end of this year, but don't worry, it's not a critical topic. So for the printer, it's critical because we're curing layer by layer. For the curing, we're just printing with full energy, a full part. It's just important that we are in plus minus 25% range, and that's totally fine. It's all okay also with the first cures we delivered. As soon as the calibration is available, we will also recommend to calibrate it monthly, but it's not as important as with the printer yet. Okay, so, and the last one, as I mentioned, is the update center. So if you click on the update center, nothing is written inside. You can now check with the refresh button if there's an update available on our servers. So for this one, there's no update available. If there would have been an update, it will tell you exactly what update, and if you want to download it, there will be a new button. It's the button between refresh and back button will be the download button. If an update is available, also the cure or the wash will do this update when they restart. So if you switch it off during the night and in the morning you come back in and an update is available during the restart, the machine will do the update automatically. Okay, so I think this was now a quick run through the software. Before we come to the recommendations, let's have a look. I can see there were some questions inside. So let's have a look. Tony says he's got some feedback from a customer that the wash is not cleaning inside the analog removable die. He has to put in ultrasonic. Okay, yeah, I think this is a bigger topic, because then we're really going into the washing process. I think the best way is to also have a look at the parts directly, which would be really beneficial if you send it via email, so we can open the task and have a look at the STL files to figure out if there's another way or how we can get rid of this. So please, just for this one, I think this is going to be a little bit bigger. Just let us know via email that we can handle this as a proper task.
Yeah.
Okay, so Joe says, your cure has a ring around the opening. My cure doesn't always get a full vacuum. Please see pic. Okay, I assume, yes, your cure has still got the old vacuum seal. So the new vacuum seal, you can just have, yeah, yes. The original one. So it's the original one. The new vacuum seal is this one. So we're preparing at the moment a lot of them to ship them as soon as possible. And we're getting, I'm not sure if Andre is also getting some information regarding where they have to be sent to. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andre. So, but yes, we're working on this to send out this optimized curing seal for all the cures which are out there at the moment.
Yep.
Okay, Antonio, yes, is the cure calibration available? This is what I answered during the presentation already. It will be by the end of the year. So, how long does it take for the new vacuum seal to reach ideal point?
It depends on the material, because if you have biocompatibles comparing it to technical materials, there's different pressures that need to be obtained. But generally speaking, it's about 4.5 minutes for it to reach that target vacuum.
Yep, I think that's the best answer. 4.5 minutes, that's kind of the average time.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you, Andre, for also telling us that it's true. Okay, so Yes, so Andre will forward this information. Thank you, Andre, for helping us.
Thank you.
Let's just then head into the recommendations for the cure and the wash. So, what about recommendations? Let's firstly have a look at the wash directly. So, a lot of you were asking about the swap box cleaning bottles. So, generally speaking, the isopropanol. What shall we do with the isopropanol? When should we change it? Is there any recommendation? So, as you can already see, Ignatius is using a glove. This is the first recommendation. If you're handling something on the RS wash, you just use gloves in order to not touch isopropanol directly, because there's also some resin dissolved maybe. So, recommendation for the isopropanol itself. First of all, most important, resin type. I'm talking now about technical resins and biocompatible resins. So if you got a technical resin, you clean it with the isopropanol, and afterwards you're using a biocompatible resin and cleaning it with the same isopropanol bottles. Your biocompatibility is not assured anymore. There is cross-contamination and your part might not be biocompatible anymore. So make sure if you're using technical and non-technical or biocompatible resins, best is have multiple swap boxes or at least some more bottles which you could exchange really quick before you have to empty a bottle, clean the bottle and refill it with new isopropanol. So best thing I would say swap box, multiple swap boxes, 1 or 2 would be totally fine. The next recommendation, resin color. As you can see, for example, in our bag one for the rough cleaning is a little bit reddish already. Was not used much, but we can see it's already a little bit reddish. So if we now use, for example, a really colorful resin, and afterwards we're using the same isopropanol for clear resin, you will have an effect on the surface or on the part which is usually clear, because it will take on also the color of the previous cleaning. So make sure if you're using also different colors, which are really way different, change the bottle or also change the complete swap box. So what Iggy was already doing now is he was changing the bottles because we now reached, for example, our recommendation of 20 print jobs. After 20 print jobs, you should exchange the isopropanol, or at least please have a look at the isopropanol state if it's really still in a good state or not. What you still can do then is you change the front bottle, which is the second cleaning cycle, so the clean one, to the back position, because isopropanol in the front one is still good enough to have the raw washing, no problem. So you can use one bottle up to 40 jobs. That's our recommendation. And the first one, the one which we removed, so the back one for the raw cleaning, is what we have to clean and refill with fresh isopropanol and then put it in the front for the cleaning cycle, the second one, the detailed one. Okay, so I think that's it for the isopropanol now. We will have now a closer look at some details inside of the RS wash. So maybe we change the camera angle again. So next step would be, what about the pump tubes? So pump tubes, because we are using 2 different ones, one for the raw cycle, one for the detailed cycle, you will have to check them, or you should check them at least every 3 months roundabout about their condition. So are they maybe a little bit dry? Are there some damages inside? Or is there something which you can see which may lead into a failure in a few next print jobs? Then you should exchange it. So, but where are those? And therefore, we have to open the RS wash. Don't be scared, it's 2 screws you have to open. Ignatius, maybe show us the one exactly. So this is 1 screw, and of course on the other side it's the same one, just 2 screws you have to remove. Use an Allen key, of course the corresponding one. And once you remove the screw, make sure you're placing the screw somewhere where it won't fall off or where you won't lose it. Afterwards, you can just open the top by lifting it to the back. Yes, wonderful view. Exactly. So, and the RS wash is open. So you can see on the left-hand side now in the picture, there are the two pumps. So the tubes are running through these pumps. It's easy to check the status of the tubes. You just open the pump with a gentle touch. So it might be a little bit harder, but that's totally fine. And then you can take it out and, for example, have a look if there's some damage, if grease is missing, just add a little bit grease, put it back in, and you can close it again. So same as for the other tube, no problem. You can order them also if there's some damage, and the exchange is pretty easy. It's just a T connector on both sides, and you can just swap it out really easy. This is now the closing. You have to hear the clicking sound, otherwise it's not closed properly and maybe the tube is in a wrong position, so please check it again if there's something other happening. Okay, so Ignatius is already in the front because we're going there next. It's the inner container. So we're having a look at the inner container, at the grid and at the propellers. So the inner container most likely is not damaged that fast, but if there's something and you want to exchange it, not big of a deal. You have got those 4 screws on top of it, exactly these. And by removing these, you can remove also the inner container. Make sure that also the tube, which is connected to the inner container, it's down there. You can also lift the inner part a little bit. And down there, the tube is connected to the inner container with a cable tie. Just make sure before you just ripping out this inner container that you also remove the zip tie, exactly, to not destroy anything inside of the machine. So if we're now having again a look in the inner container, we can grab, for example, the grid. Grid easily, just remove it. You can have a look at it if it's dirty or if it's bent, maybe the propellers are touching it. You can bend it a little bit back, or you just order a new one. You can also clean it if it's outside, if there's something stuck on there, no problem. Next step, also this question was asked before this webinar, which is also good. How can I clean the propellers? Well, they are just attached by a magnet. So you can just pull them off after you remove the grid, like this. So, and now you can clean it outside. You can get rid of some residual resin, for example, if it's just a little bit harder on there, or also order new ones and just exchange them in a fast way. For example, if you somehow made it that the propellers were broken. So also fast exchange, nothing really critical. Okay, so now there's one more thing which was always present in this video. It's the activated carbon filter. So you can see on the top there are 3 activated carbon filters, and the recommendation is to exchange them after 6 months or 500 jobs. 6 months because it's an activated carbon filter and you have to make sure that it's still working. You will also maybe smell it if the activated carbon filter is not working properly anymore. So to exchange it, you can just pull it out of this one. It's easily pulled off. You can see there's this little grid inside where we're going to filter the isopropanol vapor through, and that's all of the magic which is happening up there. Okay. So before we continue, I can see Antonio is asking something. We are recommending 2 swap boxes when using both non-biocompatible and biocompatible materials. Yes, that's right. And you're asking about the swap boxes standalone, if we sell it. We sell it, yes. You're asking for the part number. I'm not sure what the part number is at Straumann, so please ask the product manager, the local one, or write a message via Teams to, for example, maybe Andre Colvin knows it, but I think product manager might be the better one to contact because I don't know the article number or the part number at Straumann. You're welcome, Antonio. Okay, so let's continue then with the RS Cure. Because yes, of course, let's
just note.
Yes, please. Wait, we go back, yeah.
Please just note that when you are closing the RS wash, the lid, that the drawer is still open,
course, yeah.
Because there's some mechanical switches that are depending on this drawer to be open before closing it. Otherwise, you're going to have some trouble.
Exactly. Thank you. Really, really important. course, then we just put the screw back in, and then you're allowed to leave the place again. So let's just wait for Ignatius. I'm just having a look already at the RSQ a little bit. So RSQ, kind of the same with the RS wash. It's most about cleanliness. So we can more compare it even to the printer because we're working with light. So if you're working with light, of course, first thing comes to our mind is the safety glass. So safety glass should be clean. Safety glass should be not full with resin, but also not with some scratches and so on, in order to avoid the missing of some light power. So safety glass you can see directly in the middle. There's one where you place the parts on there and two ones on the side, two small ones, which is also preventing parts from falling down there. If there's something happening with the safety glass, it might be that you dropped a tool and the safety glass is partially damaged. It might be that there's too much resin on there because parts were not properly cleaned before putting it in there. You can still just exchange it. There are two screws on the back. So these two, exactly. You can loosen them. Be careful, behind this metal piece there's also a ribbon cable connected to the electrics of the cure. So don't just rip it out there, be careful. After you loosen the screws, you can remove all the glasses and put the new ones inside. So no issue there. Okay, next one, vacuum seal. So we were talking about this. What you can see in the video right now is the current seal, the current vacuum seal. It's pretty important that you check the condition of the seal. Best is, before every print shop, you just have a short look on there if there's something which maybe is really catching your eye. And every week, please just have a little bit closer look, because you never know if there's a damage. If there's a slit inside, the vacuum won't be pulled. If there's dust or too much dust or even resin on there, vacuum won't be pulled, or it will be cured between the cure sealing or the vacuum seal and the lid, and it will be hard to remove the lid again. So please make sure also the vacuum seal is clean and not damaged, so you can use it as a proper device and not with some damage inside. Okay, yes, as I mentioned, then of course the calibration is a topic we were talking about once a month. As soon as this becomes available in the software, it will tell you that you need to calibrate it, and then you should just do it around about once a month, and everything is fine. And last but not least, vents. So some of you might wonder which vents. So let's just have a look with the camera. There are two of them. Both of them are in the bottom of, for example, now the top display, or it's the same for the bottom lid. It's also underneath this lid. There are these vents. What to do? So you just clean it by using the vacuum cleaner. Easy as that. So just check it that there's not much dust inside. Of course, if you're working in a really dust-free environment, it might not be needed to do this every week. So you just check it from time to time to make sure there's not too much dirt inside. Okay, so and perfect. What Sheldon is asking now, what do we recommend for cleaning the seal? So I got one more thing which is inside of this slide. Do not spray any cleaning liquid directly into the curing chamber. So it's okay if you use isopropanol, but not too much, of course, because it's still rubber sealing. If there's just dust or anything which can come off easily, it's also okay if you just use a little bit of glass cleaner, for example. Yeah. Because it's not so aggressive in regards of the rubber. But doesn't matter what you're cleaning inside, the glass, the seal, or whatever other things, spray the cleaning liquid onto the cloth first, then use the cloth to wipe it and not spray directly into the curing chamber in order to avoid any damage. Yeah. Okay, so we got the cure, we got the wash. I think it's time for questions and answers. So we already have got some questions and we already answered, I think, all of them. If you still have got some questions, we still got some more time left, so just let us know. We're still there for you. and we can answer some of those maybe. During the time you're still thinking about some questions, maybe let's have a look at the next webinar. So next webinar, it's gonna be the last one for, we said, for this season. So let's have a look if there's gonna be another one. But the last webinar will be all about, or we would like to have the last webinar as a topic for you. So everything you still want to know. Most of you, I think, were taking part in all the webinars, at least we believe in you. And so if there's some questions which are still not answered, or if you got some always repeating trouble with some of our printers or some of, if NetFab or anything else, doesn't matter, just let us know. We would like to prepare a really in detail webinar just for your questions and for the things you're facing. So just write to us an email or to Support Competence Center so that we can bring up a real cool and proper last webinar with a lot of maybe tips and tricks from our side and questions and solutions for you also.
Yeah. So there was just a couple of things that I think we should also talk about regarding the wash.
Oh, yes, please.
So when we're looking at support structures and using the wash bath to actually clean it, if you have supports that are not secured with a base grid, then you risk that the supports break off during the cleaning cycle and it gets stuck in the propellers, or worse, goes right into the pump housing, which is a big problem. So always when you have a base grid on the supports, that's beneficial, but if the part itself is too small, then you will use the extra or the accessory of the basket.
For example, this one.
Yes, this exact one. So that's the first one. The next thing that I wanted to mention was that we do have some customers contact us telling us that the parts that they are curing stick to the glass surface inside the cure. Now this is directly related to excess material still being on said part.
Yes.
Now one way to know exactly or know immediately if you still have residual material is that after curing, liquid resin will become really shiny, whereas cured resin becomes really matte. And that's a clear indication between the two to establish, okay, so it's stuck because of my parts aren't clean enough. Maybe I need to put an extra wash cycle for that part, or I need to go and investigate my cleaning chemicals in my swap box to ensure that they are still up to standard, so that you're not ending up doing 3-4 cycle washings instead of just exchanging the cleaning chemicals to run into future issues like that.
That's pretty important. Thank you, Antonio. We would love to be rock stars, but apparently we are here, so we aren't. Okay, so if there's no more questions.
Yes, so just a follow-up. Yeah, sorry.
No problem.
Just a follow-up on what Robin said. Yeah, please contact us regarding any other type of information or tips and tricks that you guys would want, because for us, yes, we can create a webinar for tips and tricks, but this is only relevant from our perspective. So the more information or more requests you guys send in, the broader we can envision this webinar to make sure that we cover as much as possible, because this, like Robin said, will be the last for this instance or this series, season, so to speak, so that we can make sure that everyone's on the same page from next week onwards.
Okay.
But I think, I think that's all then.
Yes.
And so we would say thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week, and stay safe.
And stay three-dimensional.
Bye.
Bye-bye.